Imagine a woman getting ready to speak to her husband about some issues that they're facing. And as soon as she fixes her mouth to release the words, the stuff back down inside of her, forcing her to be silent. Rage slowly begins to build up in her. Resentment begins to control her heart. And as she sits staring angrily at her husband, she watches in awe as her husband blames her for all the wrong in the marriage and how it affects him. Little does she know, he's trying his best to express himself and express what he's feeling. His intentions aren't to blame her, but that's how she takes it. Now, she can't hold her tongue any longer, and she reacts with the same message. She begins to lash out at her husband about how he's the problem in the marriage and how everything that he's doing wrong affects her. And now her husband is in a blind rage, and words are being thrown like punches in a heavyweight championship fight. Neither of them feel like they can speak because the other keeps chopping the words in half with razor sharp utterances. But the wild part is neither of them know that they're on the same page when it comes to divorce and thinking about divorce. Listen, I don't know if you can relate to that story or not, but if you can, this was my reality, and I had no idea about the mess that I was making in my marriage. I didn't know. I was supposed to be leading my wife. I was supposed to be building her up and encouraging her, but I was doing the complete opposite, and I was making my marriage a whole mess. But as time passed, I began to realize that there are many ways that you can turn your marriage around. And in this video, I'm going to give you one. I'm Daryl McGee. Welcome to the Grove Coaching Experience. And this is how to stop fighting in your relationship, part 2. So, forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of many ways to turn a struggling marriage around. I define it as showing kindness or extending grace to someone who has wronged you. Even in the intimate relationship of marriage, we tend to offend or wrong our wives in some kind of way, and vice versa, because it is a two-sided coin. But for the time being, we're going to focus on the husbands. So in Ephesians 5:25, the word tells us that we should love our wives as Christ has loved his wife, or the church. And what we got to understand, bro, is that Jesus is the ultimate example for us as husbands. And forgiveness, it plays a vital role in our working relationship with Christ. So we know that Jesus gave his life up for his bride, or the church. And forgiveness came along with that sacrifice. Forgiveness came with that. And that is what allows us to grow closer in our relationship with him. So think about it. If it's our duty as husbands to imitate Christ, then we got to be forgiven as well. When you feel like your wife has wronged you in some kind of way, it's our duty to be willing to forgive. We have to be willing to forgive, because you got to think about it. Jesus extends forgiveness to his bride when we wrong him. And that's a lot of forgiveness. The word tells us to bear with one another and forgive each other if any of us have a complaint against another person, and to forgive as the Lord forgave you. So again, husbands are to be Christ-like. And just as he forgives you, you have to do the same when it comes to wifey. I know what you're going to say. You're going to be like, bruh, you don't even know what she like, man. You don't know the things she do. You don't even understand, bro. If your wife was like my wife, why? Hold on. I get it. Being a forgiving person, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not. But let me ask you a question. What if forgiveness was that one thing missing in your marriage that'll determine whether your marriage sinks or floats? I want you to think about that. Really think about it. What if that's what's missing? So if we as husbands, if we choose to be unforgiving, we got to realize that we're not just hurting our wife. We're not just hurting the relationship, but we're hurting ourselves as well. I want you to go with me for a minute and really use your mind right here. I know I'm not asking of a whole lot, but just go with me. When you don't feel like forgiving, when you don't want to forgive nobody, think about how that feels. I'm going to say it again. Think about a time where you don't feel like forgiving. Like you don't, so your wife done made you mad, and you're like, I'm not forgiving her. I don't care. I don't care no more. I'm done. Bump that. How do you feel in that moment? Are any of those feelings that you feel, are they good? Are they going to allow you to have a good time? No. No. None of those feelings are going to allow you to have a good time. They're not going to allow you to be joyful. They don't allow you to have peace because you're still thinking about what's just happened. You're still thinking about it. And because you love your wife, you're probably even thinking about how she's feeling, how she's going to react to this as well. Those thoughts are in your mind. So it's not allowing you to be joyful. It's not allowing you to have peace. And those two things are some of the most important things to have in life. Joy and peace. I would even put it over money. And you can drop in the comments how you feel. Would you rather have money or would you rather have peace and joy? So you got to understand that being unforgiving, it holds you in a place of misery. See, you love your wife and you want her to feel good, but also you're mad at your wife because she hurt you and you don't want her to feel good, all at the same time. Tell me that ain't miserable. And on top of all that, because you don't want to give your wife forgiveness, you allow overthinking and pride to enter your mind. And these two, they're working together in your mind to create a whole scenario that gives you a reason not to forgive your wife. Take that back. See, what really has happened is that we've given the devil a foothold, or we've just left a crack in the door for him to squeeze into the marriage. It's giving him just enough so he can plant anxious thoughts into the marriage and begin to disrupt the harmony and peace that's supposed to be there. And just like in the previous video, How to Stop Fighting in Your Relationships Part 1, I talked about this, about how marriage is a creation of God and Satan wants to destroy that. And unforgiveness is one of the tactics that he used in order to make your marriage rot from the inside out. And this is how it begins to rot. An argument happens, and now y'all can't stand each other. Then no one tries to extend forgiveness or try to resolve the issue at hand. Communication begins to break down. Then you feel like you're falling out of love. Now, you and your wife are cold and distant to each other. And then divorce happens. And now you're stuck wondering, how did I get here? When this could have been avoided with kindness, tenderheartedness, and forgiveness. But on the other hand, when you do forgive, even when you don't want to forgive or you don't feel like forgiving, it frees you from overthinking and pride. And it gives you peace and joy. I'm telling you, don't sleep on peace and joy. Those two things are some of the best things that you can ever have in your life, in your marriage, in anything. Peace and joy, peace and joy, peace and joy. See, forgiveness allows you and your wife to resolve the issue at hand and become closer together. It allows you to build intimacy and actually strengthen your relationship. This is just one way to turn a struggling marriage around. You don't have to focus on divorce or allow divorce to stew in your mind. You no longer have to do that. You just have to be willing to forgive. Hear me. Am I saying that forgiveness is the end all be all? Is the cure to everything? No. Jesus Christ is. But what I'm telling you is that forgiveness is one of those things that's going to help. It's going to change the trajectory. And it's definitely needed in a marriage because forgiveness does help solve a lot of problems. We just have to be in that place where we're willing. So as husbands and leaders of our home, we have to remember to be kind to our wife. We have to be kind. We have to be tender-hearted to her. Or in other words, be compassionate. Show compassion to her. And on top of that, forgiveness. We have to be able to forgive, just like Jesus forgives you. You might be thinking, Daryl, man, I want to forgive, but I don't really know how to. That's okay. That's okay. Bro, I got you. I got you. That's why you're here right now. I got you. I'm gonna give you 4 steps to forgiveness. These same steps that I've done with myself or for myself in my marriage, and it worked. It turned everything around. I'm telling you, just get you a pen, get some paper if you got to, and write the steps down. And I want you to practice them. I want you to apply them. They're doable steps. You can do it. Here they go. Step 1, you need to reflect. Take a few minutes, take a step back, think about what happened, and think about how it made you feel. And make sure you be honest with yourself. Be honest. For example, there was a time where I was so mad. I was ticked off. And I was holding on to that anger. And it was something that my wife had said that it cut me. It cut me pretty deep. So I took a step back and thought about what happened, thought about what she said, and thought about how I felt about it. What she told me was actually the truth. It just hurt me to hear it. It just hurt my pride more than anything. So number 1, reflect. Step 2 is you have to choose to forgive. If we forgive other people, God will forgive us. But if we don't, then God won't. And so even though my wife didn't necessarily sin against me, I still chose to forgive her. 1, so I can continue to go to God and get forgiveness. I don't want to be in my own way when it comes to getting forgiveness from the Heavenly Father. That's not something I want. So I chose to forgive her because I wanted to let go of all the bitterness and all the animosity and anger. Because what I knew and what I realized was that if I held on to that, I was going to make an ongoing cycle of hurt and unforgiveness, which ultimately was going to lead to us separating. So that's not what I wanted. And the wild thing about it, think about what I just said. If we don't forgive and we continue to move in that way, we separate ourselves from God. Just like in our marriage, if we continue to do that, we separate ourselves from our wives. So forgiveness is vital in a relationship. And at the end of the day, we're human. You're going to hear me say this a lot. We're human. We make mistakes. That's not an excuse, but it's a fact. We are not perfect. Your wife is not perfect. You may have some kind of intention on or you may think a certain way of how you want her to be, how you want her to move, act, and so on. But the fact of the matter is, she don't know what you're thinking. She don't know you want her to act a certain way. And even if she did, she's not going to do that perfectly. And neither are you. So we got to understand that we're not perfect. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up. It's in our nature. But we have to be men and forgive. We have to resolve these situations. So yes, forgiveness can be a tough choice to make, but a choice is where it starts. Step 3, communication and reconciliation. That looks like, baby, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And can we work this out together? Can we work through this together? Doing this is going to open up a path to healing. Real talk. Real talk. And please, get the pride out of the way. Get your pride out of the way. Because there's been times where I've not gone through with this for the simple fact of feeling like I'm weak or feeling like she's going to have the power now. That's so far from the truth. You don't give someone power just because you're asking for forgiveness. If anything, it's for you. You're freeing yourself. It's taking that weight off of yourself. And now you can move forward to fixing whatever has gone wrong in that relationship. So I'm telling you, communication is key. I'm pretty sure you've heard this a lot. Communication is key. So you have to communicate this. Go to her. I'm not saying you gotta go, oh baby, please, baby, forgive me. I'm sorry. I won't do it no more. Oh. Come on now. Go to her like the man you are. And if you messed up, be sincere and with humility, let her know you want to fix things. And the last and final step, step 4, patience and grace. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not rude. It keeps no records of wrong. This is what I've learned. Reminding myself of what love is and what love isn't, it helped me to show and extend grace to my wife even when it was hard and I didn't want to. We have to remember that forgiveness is a process. It's not just a one and done type thing. And one more thing it'll be so beneficial to you, you have to remember, be patient and give grace not just to your wife, but to yourself. You have to be patient and give grace to yourself. And as you learn to do this, you're going to step your way into a better marriage. Listen, man, I want you to know that you have what it takes to turn your marriage around for the better. You got it. You have what it takes to communicate better and to connect better with your wife. You have what it takes to become a team with your wife and build a successful life together. You have. You have what it takes to turn marriage fights into fuel for growth. And that's going to take some patience. It's going to take some forgiveness. It's going to take some things. But you have to remember that marriage is a journey. It's not a destination. You don't get married and that's it. No, marriage is a journey. You have to continue to build steps. That's eventually going to turn into a ladder of greatness for your marriage. Listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out. If you enjoyed what you heard and you want to hear more, like, share the video, and subscribe. And with that being said, I pray for love, understanding, joy, and peace in your marriage. In Jesus' name. Until next time, remember, a stronger you leads to a stronger family. Peace.